You guys know I'm not the guy for drama, but I have to be honest. I cannot believe nobody is telling the truth about FL Studio 25. If you guys have seen the recent content pieces out there about FL Studio 25, the beta, it's this and that, and it's going to have so many tracks and this and that. I'm looking at it like nothing about this is exciting. And I can guarantee, and this is no shade to the developers, because I know they put their blood, sweat, and tears into this. This is all my opinion from my personal experience with FL Studio. I think FL Studio has a leadership problem. They don't know where they're going. They have a leadership problem, and it's so evident. Because if we read the list of updates for FL Studio 25 and we say, what about this? Like, imagine going from GTA 5 to GTA 6 and then going, oh, all we did was we fixed the part where they ride around in those things that blows everybody up, the little cruiser things that could fly in the sky. We took those out of the game and we just made a couple cars. And that's GTA 6. And you're like, really? That's GTA 6? You're calling it GTA 6. And all you did was fix a couple things. Like, that's not worthy of calling it GTA 6. And the same thing here. If you go to the website, I'm going to show you guys the website. Here are the updates. Okay, now tell me in the comments. Now, I'm not trying to, create chaos in the FL Studio community. As a person who's trained over 1 million producers around the world, and we have over 300,000 students on our platform alone. Okay, on our new platform. This is our newer platform. And, some of those students have gone to work with Drake, Kanye West, Post Malone, Ariana Grande, French Montana, Young Thug, Polo G, Trippie Redd, Lil Baby, Young Thug, French Montana already said that, Ray Shremmerd, Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, Glorilla, a long list of artists, okay? Now, as a person who's seen that much and I've trained so many people, FL Studio hasn't even fixed basic things. Like, for example, as a beginner, when I'm teaching people, go into the playlist, the piano roll. Here's one thing they never fixed yet. I have no understanding why. So by default, FL Studio looks like this in the piano roll, which is super confusing for a beginner because we do not produce music sideways in real life. So not having the keys labeled just messes us up big time. You have to put a note in to even understand where you are. That's going to be impossible for beginners to know what the heck's going on. That alone should be fixed. All they have to do is switch a setting. A default setting. Also, too, like they didn't fix delay compensation. So, for example, here's a drum break. And if you guys zoom in just to prove it, there is no gap in the beginning of the drum break. Now, if you run this drum break through something like the Universal Audio Alicia Impressor, for example, or any kind of UA plugin, it will create a lag, a latency, even when you have plugin delay compensation on. And if you guys don't believe me, I'll do it right here. Now, it will take some time, so I have to pause the video, but I'm going to consolidate from track start. I even have the trim PDC silence, which is the silence in the beginning of a sample. All right, so it rendered to audio, and now you guys can see it created this big old silence in the beginning of the audio, which messes up loop makers. It messes up people trying to create multi-tracks for their sessions. It messes up a lot of stuff. It's not a small thing. And the fact that that gets overlooked, like a simple thing, like it was fixed for FL Studio 21, I want to say, and then something happened to where it wasn't fixed. So it not only messes up the beginning of your sample, it messes up the end part of your sample because now you're missing information at the end of the sample. Like, I think FL Studio needs to fix the problems with recording, for example. Like, I have to go to the mixer. I have to click here. I have to insert my microphone. I have to hit record. I have to hit record up here again, make sure it has audio. I hit record. Now I'm recording stuff. Okay. And the audio, when you have a lot of tracks, it could be way down here somewhere. And then you record another track, it could be way up here. And it's so unorganized. I know there are ways to switch the modes, but like when I'm in Logic and I record audio, it's on one track and I can visually see, here's the audio track. If I'm in Ableton and I have a vocal track, here's the audio track. I'm not getting lost in FL Studio, but FL Studio is good because you can move stuff around, but at the same time, they need to work on fundamentals of music production, like workflow. Okay. Like, here are the updates. I really want you guys to be honest. And I'm saying this not as a critique to other content creators. I'm not trying to hurt their feelings. I'm making this video because I cannot believe people are hyping up FL Studio 25. And it bothers me because I feel like I have a responsibility to you guys as an audience. And as somebody who's sold millions and millions of people to their website, millions and millions. Like, I have the actual YouTube data to prove that we've sent millions and millions of people to their website. And for FL Studio to claim the world's best DAW. Come on, y'all. The world's best DAW, and they don't innovate. Come on. So whenever you're confused about what I have to say, like look at Logic Pro and the quality of sound, the quality of plugins, and then you guys will be like, wow, yeah, what the freak is FL doing? Before I get into these notes, here are just my thoughts, because I've been doing this for a long time. We trained over 1 million producers and they work with the top artists in the world. And I see things over and over again teaching beginners. And some of the things I see, for example, is like people trying to go from FL Studio Mobile over to FL Studio. It's like, why is there FL Studio Mobile when it's a completely different product than FL Studio? Nothing about FL Studio Mobile really translates to FL Studio as far as like workflow, commonalities. It's a whole different product. And the fact that they're spending so much energy and time on the FL Studio Mobile, like what is the point? If it's not a money move, it doesn't make any sense because those are two different programs. So it's not like we're taking people from the mobile to get them over to the desktop. Because if our goal is to make world, leading DAW technology, it should be like the iPhone, it should be like the Apple technology where it's like, okay, we'll give you guys GarageBand on your phone. We'll give you guys GarageBand on your iPad. Our goal is so that we sell you a big computer where you can run Logic Pro on your Mac Studio. That's the goal. They're trying to take them from GarageBand up to Logic Pro. FL Studio is like, here's FL Studio Mobile. When you go to FL Studio, nothing's going to translate. So you're actually going to have to relearn it on the actual desktop. And there's really no correlation between FL Studio and FL Studio Desktop. So as a person who has his own software development, I understand that perspective. And again, I'm not talking about the software developers on the team. I'm talking about the leadership of FL Studio. They need new leadership or something because we're not getting the innovation that we deserve as customers. And I'm not here to create a critique feedback loop where everybody's in the comments just being hateful. That's not the point. The point is, let's go to the website because we have to go point by point actually to show you guys what I'm talking about. One of their first mistakes, in my opinion, is going by a yearly nomenclature model. So for example, they're going to call it FL Studio 2025, and next year they're going to call it FL Studio 2026. But people colloquially on the street are going to call it FL 25, FL 26. And if we're trying to get new users on a platform and take people from FL 11 to FL 26 to even buy the new plugins that they want us to buy, we have to have a reason for people to jump from FL 11 to FL 26. And these updates are so menial, that I cannot justify to anybody like, you guys should hop on FL Studio 25. Like, this is crazy coming from a person who encourages people to update to the next thing and the next thing. It's just quality of life updates. And I just don't understand how they feel like they could justify calling it FL Studio 25. Because again, even though it's called 2025, the street is going to call it FL 25. That's just how we do. So let's read this, update by update. And again, I've watched so many videos trying to pump FL 25. They're like, we got an extra mixer button. We can add more mixer tracks. Who in the world has 500 mixer tracks? Firstly, like you're not recording an orchestra. And if you are, you're not using FL Studio. So who needs that many tracks anyway? But let's just start from the list here. So first up, okay, I'm just going to read these in order, and I want you guys in the comments to truly tell me what about these updates says, okay, now I'm updating. These updates honestly sound like if Rockstar Games said, hey guys, here's GTA 5, one of the greatest games on the planet, and we're going to release GTA 6 in a year. The only difference that we're going to introduce is we're going to take out those little flying cars that could fly across the map, and we're going to add, a couple cars to the map and call it GTA 6. That's it, guys. That's GTA 6. Everybody would revolt because they're like, what? Why are you even calling it GTA 6? That's a GTA 5 patch update. Okay, so let's look at what's new. All right, so I think, and before I give my, critique about each one of these things, I want to say that I think FL Studio tends to focus a lot on the EDM scene, but truly ask yourself, how many EDM people are making EDM in FL Studio? Like, really ask yourself, what YouTubers are making EDM in FL Studio? And if they are, just ask the question, why aren't they using Ableton like everybody else? Like EDM DJs mostly use Ableton because they have devices. They have way better audio manipulation tools. They have, the clip mode where they could launch clips from a pad if they wanted to create their own like unique set. And there's a billion reasons why a DJ or an EDM performer would use Ableton Live over FL Studio. And I feel like whoever's in their forum is like a bunch of EDM producers. But the EDM producers are not the ones who have to suffer from these workflow updates. Like, this has nothing to do with people who make the actual movements in your actual company. Like, all the people, I'm going to show you guys once we get to it, but look at their power list, okay, which they're not even including Nick Muir. Let's start here. Nick Muir is not even on their FL Studio power list. If I look up BusyWorks Beats, it's definitely not on there. A person who's literally trained 1 million people on their software, BusyWorks Beats, nowhere to be found, even though I was there before, which is complete crazy that you would disrespect somebody who lifted up your company in the millions. Then on top of that, who else? Nick Mira. I know I'm missing somebody. For example, they don't even have Jay Cactus on their power user list, but they used him for their FL Cloud because they couldn't figure out how to be Splice. But they used his name and his likeness to try to get users over to Cloud. And I'm curious how all those, producers that they try to leverage the name off of, how many people are actually signing up for FL Cloud? Like, FL Studio has a leadership problem. And don't even get me started on the power users who don't even use FL Studio, who use Ableton. They don't even use FL. Like, they are here clearly for a PR stunt. Okay. So don't even get me started on that list. But let's go through the FL Studio 25. Now, keep in mind, we're on 24, and people haven't even updated it to 24 yet based on the cool 24 updates. So this is FL Studio 25. And again, I want you guys to be 1000% honest. How many of these updates do you think is worth switching? I'm just going to read them, and I want you to say it in the comments. I'll give my little opinions, but I want you guys to be 1000% honest with me and say, would you update from FL Studio 24 or whichever version you're on? Hop on the FL Studio 25 for this one thing. Okay, so let's hop into the updates here. It says general settings. Added a read sample root note to be deselected to correct pitch issues when root note metadata is incorrect. Similar purpose to the read sample tempo information option. Like, this should have been fixed years ago. Basically, I think what this is, and I could be wrong, if you guys had like samples from an old Akai MPC or like an old sample library, it might be labeled with the metadata saying that the root note is C1 because that's how they would trigger it on their actual keyboards. They would use MIDI to trigger samples. But in FL Studio, when you loaded it up, if it was a snare, for example, it would sound like super high pitched because it says that the root note is way lower. So when you're playing at middle C, it thinks you're playing at C8, for example, on the sample. And it just created this weird distorted expectation of the user that, like, why does this not sound like a snare? Okay, so that is so small that should have been fixed many, many years ago. Here it says export. Now, again, I got to be asked the question. Do you guys think that's worth updating to FL 26 or 25, pardon me? Export. Better handling of duplicate sample names when exporting to zip. So if you guys don't even know what this problem is, it's basically when you record a bunch of files and you go to export the file as a zip loop package. What it will give you is an error saying that you have multiple things named the same thing. And when you basically zip that, it's going to get confused. So when you open up the zip folder on somebody else's computer, it's like, which file's which? It doesn't know which one to pull from, and it gets confused. And so they're saying that they basically just added a feature to where it adds a distinction between those two files. Would you guys update the FL? Would you update the FL Studio 25 for that? All right, let's see what else it has. FL Studio Remote added support for FL Studio Remote version 2. People don't even know what this is. Basically, you can record yourself from far away. So if you don't have an engineer and you have to record yourself like I do, instead of just hitting record and run into your booth, record, come back, which is pretty straightforward. But if your booth is further away for some reason, or you want to be secluded in your booth, they have this thing called FL Studio Remote. Now, it's bare bones. I'm curious to see what FL Studio Remote 2 is, but if it's nothing like Logic's where you can like loop record, you could basically, like Logic's version of it, then it's like, what are we doing? Also too, this is a side note. Again, you guys gotta realize I'm an educator for people who use FL Studio. And what I've noticed is the company's focusing on FL Studio Mobile. Have you guys used FL Studio Mobile anytime in your life as an FL Studio desktop user? Because I could tell you that I used it on my iPad from my son just to play around with. I think you have to buy it. It's not even free for one. BandLab is free. You have to buy BeatMaker 3. You have to buy FL Studio Mobile, and you have to buy something else. I'm pretty sure there's no free option, or maybe there's a free trial. I don't know. That's not even the point. The point I want to make here is that when you're on FL Studio Mobile, it looks nothing like FL Studio. Like it works nothing like FL Studio. So my thing is like they're building a whole different product called FL Studio Mobile. It's like, what are we going to do with the people who get decent at FL Studio Mobile? It's like they're trying to copy Apple, who had GarageBand, which is like a miniature version of Logic Pro. And they would put GarageBand on your computer for free. They would put it on your MacBook, or they would put it on your iPad or on your phone. The goal of GarageBand was to just have simple loops, simple ideas, nothing complex, and then upgrade people to Logic Pro. That was the whole goal, so that they buy a bigger MacBook. Again, this is why I said FL Studio has a leadership problem, because what is the point of developing an FL Studio Mobile community when it's nothing like FL Studio Desktop? It is completely different, to the point where, again, I'm a person who teaches this day in and day out. And I can tell you, when people come to me about FL Studio Mobile questions, I'm like, I don't know. It's a whole different program. Acts nothing like FL Studio. I'm sure you can transport projects and import them. That's cool. You know, it's kind of like the same argument where people are like, this is just the beta of FL Studio 25. It's just a beta. That does not, like, I would not market my product as like, yo guys, here's the next iteration of Hercules 2. It's going to have a different filter knob on it. And we're going to give it a new UI. And that's it. Hercules 2. It's like, come on. Okay, so next up. All right, next up it says history, deleting mixer and playlist tracks can now be undone. That could have been a patch update, a small patch update. News panel. Add in an animation to the news toolbar button when a new notification appears, and you could right click to refresh option. I don't think anybody even knows about the news panel. Gopher. Don't even get me started with Gopher. This is like their version of like ChatGPT inside of FL Studio. I'm not hating AI. This is a horrendous way to incorporate AI into FL Studio. I'm not even apologizing for that take. So it says Gopher. Let's open up Gopher. Let's see what Gopher is about. And I sound like I'm trashing the company, but you guys got to listen to what I'm saying. I'm saying that as a person who literally built the foundation for beginners to start around this software, and then they're basically creating it to now when FL Studio 26 comes out, and I make videos about the company, now I'm looked at as like a person who's overinflating information and overinflating things because the company at the root is overinflating stuff. So here it says Gopher. Who named it, first of all? A large language model trained exclusively on this manual and our knowledge base. Why would anybody need this? Actually, I know a couple things people might need it for, but come on. A great source of information about using FL Studio, everything related to it. Then it says Gopher was so named because it goes for information. And the name plays on that idea, Gopher. Who pitched the idea? I just want to know. Somebody's like, you know what? I got an idea. No diss to the developers if this was your idea, but come on, like, bruh. I want to create a ChatGPT that looks at our knowledge base, our manual. So when people say how to make a Spins 808, it's not going to know the answer. And we're going to call it Go for Information. Go for AI. Bruh. Gopher? Come on. A common term for people who fetch things in an organization. It says, note, as with any AI model, Gopher can give you incorrect answers. What is the point? Oh my goodness. Reading this is making it worse. I'm so sorry. So reading this is making it worse. Oh my goodness. As with any AI model, Gopher can give you incorrect answers. So what's the point of training it on your knowledge base if it can answer questions outside of your knowledge base? Why wouldn't you have an LLM that only responds to things that trigger things in the knowledge base and pull from that section of the knowledge base, and it doesn't just hallucinate random chatter? Like, why would you even incorporate a system like that to where it can generate stuff that isn't from the knowledge base? Even I know this, and I'm not a developer. And so make sure to thumbs down these and let us know what went wrong. Like, I'm okay with hallucinations in AI. That's not my point. It's like, if the whole point of this is to be built around documents, and then I'm teaching the AI to be creative, even though it's a written training set, like, what are we doing? I don't know why that bothered me so much. That just reading about Gopher made me not like it even more. Oh my God, I cannot believe that is the story behind it. Communications panel added an option to keep the panel open to make it easier to use the manual. I don't even know what that is and where it is. Mastering. The mastering window can now update previews in real time based on parameter changes. I don't know anybody who uses FL mastering, being honest with you. Mixer, dynamic mixer tracks. Add and delete mixer tracks as needed. The maximum number of insert tracks has increased to 500, up from 125. Again, if I'm not recording an orchestra, what do I need 150 tracks for? We're not recording Dua Lipa. We're not recording Usher. We're not recording Justin Timberlake in FL Studio. So what do we need 150 tracks for? Like, even still, 500 tracks for what? We're not recording orchestras. And if we were, we're going to use Pro Tools HD rigs. We're not going to use FL Studio for this. This is why I just think there's a leadership problem with FL Studio. It's like they're listening to people who probably complain a lot in the forums, but these are not people who spend the most money or people who move the culture the most to even get people to spend money on this culture. And it's like FL Studio's listening to, because think about it, who's in the forums? It's mostly EDM guys and like DMB, which I respect any genre. That's not I'm not trying to target a genre. When the workflow of FL and the people on this power list, let's go to the power list real quick. All right, here's the power list. So Martin Garrix, okay, Murder Beats, shout out to Murder Beats using FL. So hip hop producers using FL. So please tell me what hip hop producer needs 500 channels and which hip hop producer needs like all these little small EDM fixes. Afrojack EDM, shout out to Afrojack. Boy Wonder hip hop made some of the craziest hit songs of our era. Hip hop, not EDM. Porter Robinson, shout out to him. Mustard, who made They Not Like Us. Hip hop. I don't know if he used FL to make it, but hip hop. Madion, EDM. Tay Keith, hip hop. And I don't even know if these guys use Ableton or not. I don't follow them that closely, but I venture to assume they also use Ableton, especially for EDM, because it's certain things in Ableton that just are better for that genre. So even here, hip hop, it's Perps. Shout out to Perps from 808 Mafia. Ninth Wonder, hip hop. I don't know this guy Alex, but shout out to him. Hip hop. Cheese, I don't know who that is, but shout out to him. Hip hop. So if the majority of users who made FL Studio popular are from hip hop, why is the workflow catering to people who aren't in hip hop? Like, how does that make any logical sense? Like, you want to cater to the base that actually made you grow, not the people who came 10 years down the line. Things like this just get under my skin. Okay, it says insert mixer menu options, insert one track, insert mixer tracks, and add tracks from a preset list. I mean, again, who's even doing that? Browser. Okay, it says folders now show sample content preview for folders in the tab menu columns view mode. I don't know what that means. I guess who knows what that even means? And is that a big update to where you guys be like, yeah, I'm getting FL25? So in the browser tabs, the library tab has been renamed to presets, better representing the content. Playlist. In the playlist view, we have audio clips and clip properties allow per clip stretch. So I'm interested to see what that is. Pitch and reverse controls. So this seems like they're going after like Ableton Live's workflow. But as I clicked on the screen for the clip properties tab, this is what pops up. So it's like a sub menu. So you have to double click on it, click reverse, then click out. We're going to see how this workflow works. Okay, but this looks like something that should have been there. But again, that's just my perspective. Not something I'm going to be like, wow, FL finally has VST3. It's like that. Audio clips, additional per clip disabled declicking option for fade in, fade out envelopes. So additional per clip disabled. I don't even know what that means. Slice tool, the default mode for slice tool is now vertical instead of horizontal or diagonal. Can you guys see why I'm like, why is nobody being honest? Automation clips, name of automation clips for effects on instrument tracks improved. Now, I think I tried the FL beta and it still had percentages. So if they're talking about when you make an automation, the problem is if you're in a third-party plugin, which any other DAW gets the metadata from the plugin. So I don't understand why it's not a thing. So for example, I'm going to load up a random plugin here. That didn't work. Okay, let's try a different plugin. All right, so I just picked up this random plugin. Okay, so let's say I move a knob like the master pitch. Okay, so let's go to the top left, go to browse parameters. And in other DAWs, what it will do is it reads the value from this actual slider. Okay, so we can right click, create an automation clip. Now, if I move the automation clip, the current issue is that if you read the value in the top left, it gives percentages. And it's like pitch and percentage doesn't make any sense. So percentage, 0%, you have to understand bipolar. Like for things like a filter, for example, you have to understand bipolar. You have to understand just a lot of stuff, just understand what percentage even mean. You know, whereas other DAWs, I'm pretty sure other DAWs have it to where you can say, okay, -12 semitones, -3 semitones, -4 semitones, what it should say, or like cent values in the pitch. It should read the thing as for what it is, not a percentage. That's super confusing. I don't know if it's easy on their side, but I've definitely seen that in other DAWs make it super simple, especially in Ableton. Like when you're moving a filter, it shows the actual value of the hertz of the filter that you're trying to move. Okay, so that's a little bit more intermediate of a problem there, but I'm getting bored reading these features. How's this exciting, bro? Like, I cannot believe people are lying to y'all about FL25. It just bothers me so much. Automation clips. Okay, we went over that. This is names of automation clips for effects and instruments have improved. Okay. Clips menus, pressing application context menu will open a clips pop-up menu when the mouse is over it. Like, not exciting at all. Channel rack, colorful channel controls, channel rack menu item to change the color of channel controls, whatever that even means. It's like plugins, new plugins, emphasis, all plugins edition, meaning that you don't get this with the producer edition. So you basically have to buy the full version anyway, which you're buying every plugin. So this, you're gonna have to buy a standalone anyway, which is fine. Like, I don't care if they make plugins that they want people to buy. My thing is like, to call the entire FL Studio 25 just because they made one plugin that does not even come with the majority of the editions of FL is kind of crazy to me. Then it says emphasis is a multi-stage single band mastering limiter designed for sound and loudness enhancement while preserving the original dynamic profiles and spectral balance. This is all talk until we hear what it can do, because I mean, everybody kind of associates the Fruity limiter with a plasticky sound. Okay, so that's a lot of work trying to undo that brand. FL Studio Mobile Rack, new access to FL Studio Mobile plugin. Nobody cares. Let's just be honest. Nobody cares about FL Studio Mobile if you're already an FL Studio user. Patcher, new VFX script effects plugin. If it's not visible, check browser plugin database installed effects. Nobody cares. Like, I'm being 1000% with y'all. Plugins updated. Sakura, new vectoral user interface. I mean, that's cool. Again, I'm not critiquing developers who pour their life into this, okay? I'm critiquing the leadership of FL Studio. I cannot walk around and say I'm the #1 DAW, you know, flash off all these artists who really don't even be using the DAW like that, if I really expose people like that. And then on top of that, say we're the best, we have the culture, and then put out just basic of the most basic. Like, how is the culture selling millions and millions of copies of FL Studio, and none of that money's going into R&D, paying like top of the line engineers, paying people who could actually solve the problems that like already exist? Like, where is this? What are we doing? DrumMax says new vectoral user interface. I'm gonna just continue reading here. DrumMax, new vectoral user interface. Flex added an animation when selecting a random preset and peak indication to the peak meters. FPC, the selected pad now has an outline. Transporter added a sidechain. This is important because Transporter was kind of hard to trigger. So that is a good plugin. So I'm glad they fixed this. But to me, that's an update. That's more of an update than a complete new version of something. DrumMax now shows pad names in the piano roll. Fruity Balance, add dB hint when mousing over the peak meter. Who even uses this plugin? Fruity Granulizer. Granulizer is now a full plugin and can be used in Patcher. Even though these can be used in Patcher, we still can't load up certain things in Patcher. Like, from what I remember, you can't load up a sampler in Patcher, for example, but we can load up Fruity Slicer, which is kind of like a sampler, but not the same exact thing. Then Fruity Granulizer. So for your one shots, if you want to put a one shot in a Patcher and then like run it through a bunch of effects. So yeah, guys, and man, there's so much to say, but I just don't know why people are pumping this thing up. These are fixes that should just happen regardless. My final critique about FL Studio 25 is very simple. It's like, take away the yearly naming thing, because it's going to backfire. Every year, we're going to be expecting some major thing. And then the expectations are going to be up here. And then when they're not met, it's actually going to make the company go down and down the next time. And we're going to be losing trust hand over fist, because people are going to be thinking that it's just all marketing bullcrap. FL Studio 28, and it's the same thing we have now with like a couple tweaks. It's like, bruh, we can't keep this falsity going. Like, and I'm surprised nobody's talking about it. Nobody's being honest. And I'm not even acting like I want everything for free. Like, I'm willing to pay every like 2 years or whenever they release similar to Ableton, I'm willing to pay for updates if FL Studio actually focuses on fixing stuff and not all this extra BS stuff. I'm sure half the updates are going to come from FL Cloud, but you guys got to realize FL Cloud is not FL Studio. FL Cloud is a separate thing. FL Studio Mobile is not FL Studio. It is a separate thing. So when they call FL Studio 25, even if they introduce some major cloud integration, it's like, I don't have FL Cloud, so that doesn't apply to me. Therefore, it's not FL Studio got an update, it's FL Cloud got an update. I can go on and on and on and on, but I'm going to end it here because I don't want this to sound like a rant. I want it to be a wake-up call for the community to be like really questioning who do you trust? Because I really, truly, honestly cannot believe anybody's pumping this up. All right, so share with a friend. Let's get some conversation going in the comments. I know there's people like, FL Studio is the greatest ever. That's not my point, though, because I'm still on FL Studio, but we got to be honest. All right, y'all, that's all I'm going to say. Let me know what you think below. Peace.